Day 119, Royal Kingdom, 1 Samuel 29-31, Psalm 17. Let's begin. 1 Samuel 29-31. Then all the troops of the Philistines were gathered together at Aphek. But Israel also made camp, above the spring which is in Jezreel. And indeed, the princes of the Philistines advanced by hundreds and by thousands, but David and his men were in the rear with Achish. And the leaders of the Philistines said to Achish, "What do these Hebrews intend to do?" And Achish said to the leaders of the Philistines, "Could you be ignorant about David, who was the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, and who has been with me for many days, even years, and I have not found within him anything, from the day that he fled to me, even to this day?" Then the leaders of the Philistines became angry against him, and they said to him, "Let this man return, and let him settle in his place, which you appointed for him. But let him not descend with us to battle, lest he become an adversary to us when we begin to fight. For in what other way will he be able to please his Lord, except with our heads? Is not this the David, about whom they were singing, while dancing, saying, Saul struck down his thousands, but David his 10,000s? Therefore, Achish called David, and he said to him, As the Lord lives, you are good and righteous in my sight, even in your departure and your return with me in the military camp. And I have not found anything evil in you, from the day that you came to me, even to this day. But you are not pleasing to the princes. Therefore, return and go in peace, so that you do not offend the eyes of the princes of the Philistines. And David said to Achish, But what have I done, or what have you found in me, your servant, from the day that I was in your sight to this day, so that I may not go out and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And in response, Achish said to David, I know that you are good in my sight, like an angel of God. But the leaders of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle. And so, rise up in the morning, you and the servants of your lord who came with you. And when you have risen up in the night, as it begins to be light, go forth. And so David rose up in the night, he and his men, so that they might set out in the morning. And they returned to the land of the Philistines. But the Philistines ascended to Jezreel. And when David and his men had arrived at Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had made an attack on the south side against Ziklag. And they had struck Ziklag, and burned it with fire. And they had led the women in it away as captives, from the small to the great. And they had not killed anyone, but they led them away with them. And then they traveled on their journey. Therefore, when David and his men had arrived at the city, and had found it burned with fire, and that their wives and their sons and daughters had been led away as captives, David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices. And they mourned until the tears in them failed. For indeed, the two wives of David also had been led away as captives, Ahinoam, the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal of Carmel. And David was greatly saddened. And the people were willing to stone him, because the soul of every man was bitter over his sons and daughters. But David was strengthened by the Lord his God. And he said to the priest Abiathar, the son of Ahimelech, Bring the ephod to me. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. And David consulted the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue these robbers, and will I overtake them, or not? And the Lord said to him, Pursue. For without doubt, you will overtake them and find the prey. Therefore, David went away, he and the 600 men who were with him, and they arrived as far as the torrent Besor. And certain ones, being weary, stayed there. But David pursued, he and 400 men. For 200 stayed, who, being weary, were not able to cross the torrent Besor. And they found an Egyptian man in the field, and they led him to David. And they gave him bread, so that he might eat, and water, so that he might drink. And also a section of a mass of dried figs, and 2 clusters of dried grapes. And when he had eaten, his spirit returned, and he was refreshed. For he had not eaten bread, nor drank water, for 3 days and 3 nights. And so David said to him, To whom do you belong? Or where are you from? And where are you going? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, the servant of an Amalekite man. But my lord abandoned me, because I began to be sick the day before yesterday. For indeed, we broke forth to the southern side of Cherethi, and against Judah, and to the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, Are you able to lead me to this battle line? And he said, Swear to me by God that you will not kill me, and that you will not deliver me into the hands of my lord, and I will lead you to this battle line. And David swore to him. And when he had led him, behold, they were stretched out on the face of the land everywhere, eating and drinking and celebrating, as if it were a feast day, because of all the prey and spoils that they had taken from the land of the Philistines, and from the land of Judah. And David struck them down from evening until the evening of the next day. And no one among them escaped, except 400 youths, who had climbed on camels and fled. Therefore David rescued all that the Amalekites had taken, and he rescued his 2 wives. And nothing was missing, from small even to great, among the sons and daughters, and among the spoils, and among everything whatsoever that they had seized. David returned it all. And he took all the flocks and the herds, and he drove them before his face. And they said, This is the prey of David. Then David arrived at the 200 men, who, being weary, had stayed, for they had not been able to follow David, and he had ordered them to remain at the torrent Besor. And they went out to meet David, and the people who were with him. Then David, drawing near to the people, greeted them peacefully. And all the wicked and iniquitous men, out of the men who had gone with David, responding, said, Since they did not go with us, we will not give to them anything from the prey that we have rescued. But let his wife and children be enough for each of them. When they have accepted this, they may go back. But David said, You shall not do this, my brothers, with these things that the Lord has delivered to us, for he has preserved us, and he has given into our hands the robbers who broke out among us. And so, let no one heed you over these words. But equal shall be the portion of him who descended to the battle, and of him who remained with the supplies, and they will divide it alike. And this has been done from that day and thereafter. And it was established as a statute, and as if a law, in Israel even to this day. Then David went to Ziklag, and he sent gifts from the prey to the elders of Judah, his neighbors, saying, Receive a blessing from the prey of the enemies of the Lord. To those who were in Bethel, and who were in Ramoth toward the south, and who were in Jattir, and who were in Aroer, and who were in Siphmoth, and who were in Eshtemoa, and who were in Rasel, and who were in the cities of Jerahmeel, and who were in the cities of Kenny, and who were in Hormah, and who were at the lake of Ashan, and who were in Athak, and who were in Hebron, and to the remainder who were in those places where David had stayed, he and his men. Now the Philistines were fighting against Israel. And the men of Israel fled before the face of the Philistines, and they fell down slain on Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines rushed upon Saul, and upon his sons, and they struck down Jonathan, and Abinadab, and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. And the entire weight of the battle was turned against Saul. And the men who were archers pursued him. And he was severely wounded by the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, Draw your sword and strike me, otherwise these uncircumcised may come and kill me, mocking me. And his armor-bearer was not willing, for he had been struck with an exceedingly great fear. And so Saul took his own sword, and he fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer had seen this, namely, that Saul had died, he too fell upon his sword, and he died with him. Therefore Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men, on the same day together. Then, seeing that the men of the Israelites had fled, and that Saul had died with his sons, the men of Israel who were across the valley or beyond the Jordan abandoned their cities, and they fled. And the Philistines went and lived there. Then, when the next day arrived, the Philistines came, so that they might despoil the slain. And they found Saul and his 3 sons lying on Mount Gilboa. And they cut off the head of Saul. And they despoiled him of the armor, and they sent it into the land of the Philistines all around, so that it might be announced in the temples of the idols and among their people. And they placed his armor in the temple of Ashtaroth. But his body they suspended on the wall of Bethshan. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead had heard all that the Philistines had done to Saul, all the most valiant men rose up, and they walked all night, and they took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan. And they went to Jabesh Gilead, and they burned them there. And they took their bones, and they buried them in the forest of Jabesh. And they fasted for 7 days. Psalm 17. Unto the end. For David, the servant of the Lord, who spoke the words of this canticle to the Lord, in the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. And he said, I will love you, O Lord my strength. The Lord is my firmament, my refuge, and my liberator. My God is my helper, and I hope in him, my protector, and the horn of my salvation, and my support. Praising, I will call upon the Lord, and I will be saved from my enemies. The sorrows of death surrounded me, and the torrents of iniquity dismayed me. The sorrows of hell encompassed me, and the snares of death intercepted me. In my tribulation, I called upon the Lord, and I cried out to my God. And he listened to my voice from his holy temple. And my cry in his presence entered into his ears. The earth was shaken, and it trembled. The foundations of the mountains were disturbed, and they were shaken, because he was angry with them. A smoke ascended by his wrath, and a fire flared up from his face, coals were kindled by it. He bent the heavens, and they descended. And darkness was under his feet. And he ascended upon the cherubim, and he flew upon the feathers of the winds. And he set darkness as his hiding place, with his tabernacle all around him, dark waters in the clouds of the air. At the brightness that was before his sight, the clouds crossed by, with hail and coals of fire. And the Lord thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice, hail and coals of fire. And he sent forth his arrows and scattered them. He multiplied lightnings, and he set them in disarray. Then the fountains of waters appeared, and the foundations of the world were revealed, by your rebuke, O Lord, by the inspiration of the spirit of your wrath. He sent from on high, and he accepted me. And he took me up out of many waters. He rescued me from my strongest enemies, and from those who hated me. For they had been too strong for me. They intercepted me in the day of my affliction, and the Lord became my protector. And he led me out, into a wide place. He accomplished my salvation, because he willed me. And the Lord will reward me according to my justice, and he will repay me according to the purity of my hands. For I have preserved the ways of the Lord, and I have not behaved impiously before my God. For all his judgments are in my sight, and his justice I have not pushed away from me. And I will be immaculate together with him, and I will keep myself from my iniquity. And the Lord will reward me according to my justice and according to the purity of my hands before his eyes. With the holy, you will be holy, and with the innocent, you will be innocent. And with the elect, you will be elect, and with the perverse, you will be perverse. For you will save the humble people, but you will bring down the eyes of the arrogant. For you illuminate my lamp, O Lord. My God, enlighten my darkness. For in you, I will be delivered from temptation, and with my God I will climb over a wall. As for my God, his way is undefiled. The eloquence of the Lord has been examined by fire. He is the protector of all who hope in him. For who is God except the Lord? And who is God except our God? It is God who has wrapped me with virtue and made my way immaculate. It is he who has perfected my feet, like the feet of deer, and who stations me upon the heights. It is he who trains my hands for battle. And you have set my arms like a bow of brass. And you have given me the protection of your salvation. And your right hand sustains me. And your discipline has corrected me unto the end. And your discipline itself will teach me. You have expanded my footsteps under me, and my tracks have not been weakened. I will pursue my enemies and apprehend them. And I will not turn back until they have failed. I will break them, and they will not be able to stand. They will fall under my feet. And you have wrapped me with virtue for the battle. And those rising up against me, you have subdued under me. And you have given the back of my enemies to me, and you have destroyed those who hated me. They cried out, but there was none to save them, to the Lord, But he did not heed them. And I will crush them into dust before the face of the wind, so that I will obliterate them like the mud in the streets. You will rescue me from the contradictions of the people. You will set me at the head of the Gentiles. A people I did not know has served me. As soon as their ears heard, they were obedient to me. The sons of foreigners have been deceitful to me, the sons of foreigners have grown weak with time, and they have wavered from their paths. The Lord lives, and blessed is my God, and may the God of my salvation be exalted. O God, who vindicates me and who subdues the people under me, my liberator from my enraged enemies. And you will exalt me above those who rise up against me. From the iniquitous man, you will rescue me. Because of this, O Lord, I will confess to you among the nations, and I will compose a psalm to your name, magnifying the salvation of his King, and showing mercy to David, his Christ, and to his offspring, even for all time.